We do have some updated news. I'm going to let you get the people caught up on what's going on with Kevon Looney and GP2.
Well, yeah, it sounds like Kevon Looney is ill and may not go tomorrow night, which would be historic because the guy has played in 220, did we say 223?
223.
223 straight games, but he's questionable tomorrow night against the Nuggets due to illness, and we're talking about Kerr's rotation and the tough decisions he's got to make. Well, they only get tougher tomorrow night because Gary Payton's coming back. And Gary Payton, as a great defensive player, is going to be in that rotation. Just makes it all the more crowded. But, man, it's just, the Warriors right now, they're in 11th place. Steph's in his mid-30s. Their window for winning a title has either already shut or it's pretty close to being shut. And I don't see what the game plan is. I mean, I'd love to know what the game plan is going forward. If you're a Warrior fan and you know everything you know right now, they've got a team that's pretty deep, maybe too deep, and you've got Paul, who's got an expiring deal, 38 years old. Clay's turned down, a 2-year, $50 million extension. You extended Green, but he seems like he's gone off the deep end. And you've got four really good young players that absolutely need minutes prioritized for them in Podziemski, TJD, Kuminga, and Moody. What do you do? You got Clay's going to shoot you stank eye if you bench him and tell him to come off the bench. You got Wiggins, who's cruising with $200 million in the bank. Doesn't look like the player that he was in the finals a couple years ago at all. What do you do? What do you do if you're Dunleavy? You're a first-year GM. You've got an opulent arena. You got an owner that's like, hey, whatever you do, we need people to keep coming through the turnstiles. Okay, well, what does that mean? That means, what does that mean about, it's like what to do with this team. And I've heard people say they should make a big play for KD. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. Obviously, that would shorten your window that much more, right? Because he's an older player. So it's a tough one. Kerr doesn't have a contract beyond this year, right? So he's in kind of a lame duck situation. Kuminga's, voicing his unhappiness. Moody's equally unhappy. He's just not voicing it. I'm not sure what they just came off of a really bad loss where Kerr admitted they were outcoached, outworked, and outplayed. I don't know. I don't know what to say. They used to be able to shoot the basketball. They can't now. They're small. Anybody have any ideas? Let's start passing the idea thing around. If you have a good idea for how to save Golden State going forward, or how to jumpstart this whole thing, or how to redirect, I guess the first question is, what's realistic, and what's possible, and what does Steph want? Right? I think those would be if I'm Dunleavy or Joe Lacob and I was sitting down with Kerr, I'd say, okay, guys, what's realistic on the trade front? Mike says, well, we talked to this guy. We can get this guy for that guy. We can get this guy for that guy. What's possible, and what is, where's Steph on moving off of these players? And it's one thing to say, hey, Steph, what do you think? But I get the sense that the caller who said before that the players are running the team is absolutely spot on, dead on right, and that the players are running the team. And that's probably not the healthiest situation. So I don't know what the answer is going to be for them, but, man, when you watch games like last night and you think, man, there's got to be some big decision looming. There's got to be a big trade coming. Somebody's going to be fired. Somebody's going to be traded. Something needs to happen to this basketball team to reset their direction. Because right now, it's like a boat that's engine died and it's just bobbing in the water.
Well, let's get an answer to those questions. What do we do next for the Golden State Warriors? We open it up at 888-957-9570, starting things in Pacifica with Junior. Junior, go ahead. Welcome to 95.7 The Game.
Hey, great discussion, you guys. I really appreciate it. It's not harsh, trying to score points, but just trying to figure things out. And first of all, we don't realize how lucky we are. To get 4 championships in this period, it didn't just take good coaching, it took a revolution. And I think that the player empowerment that we're kind of bemoaning now, which I get, was part of that. I don't think you get the 4 championships without that sharing of burden. So given that where we are now, though, can't last forever, right? I think that we have a really nice rotation of talent and experience of 8 or 9 guys spread across about 12 human people. And so it's diffuse. And whichever way you lean, it's not even a top team, let alone an amazing team with the current group, because you got experience, but you're slowing down. You've got youth, but not enough experience. It just doesn't fit up. So I think a trade where you collapse, 2 and 3 players into one, well above average player once or twice to keep the current core going. I think you got to milk the core that you've got until the end, because you don't get a revolution like this. It's to change the game. I don't see that coming. To be really harsh, I think the summary of Joe Lacob's basketball innovation was our friend who I like, James Wiseman, and that did not work, right? That was his big insight, and it wasn't one. So we just
are we putting that on Joe? I mean, is his Smiley-Geach and Wiseman are on Joe? Is that what it is? Is that where we're at?
I'm putting Wiseman on Joe. I haven't heard, no one else has stepped up and said it was me. And he's gone, that's it also, like a lot of good things about him, but he's gone too quiet lately. He should step up.
Myers did say at the goodbye, I love it here. I could stay forever, but I can't. Presser. He did say Joe loves size. He did stick that one in there. Seriously,
Hello.
That was, if anything, was like, hey, Wiseman wasn't my freaking fault. It was Joe's. When Bob said Joe does love size, everybody knows that. That was Joe Wiseman was Joe's pick.
In defense of Joe, and someone on the text line alluded to this, that small ball is out and you need to go big. I think that if Wiseman hit, that's sort of what's trending in the NBA. To get a big who could be a two-way player, they can get outside, inside, and can rim run. Because if you look right now, the subtle changing of the guard, while the Warriors changed the entire template of how to win in the NBA some 8 to 10 years ago, with shooting threes like nobody had ever done before. Now when you look at it, especially in the West, the big man has returned. I mean, Minnesota is huge. Chet Holmgren in Oklahoma is huge.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid, Giannis, you got Jokic, the best team in the NBA.
Well, it's not just size either. It's size and skill.
Well, that's
combined.
just it. That's today's big. It's
right.
Not the 1990s where you can just go down to the dots, we'll lob it to you, and then clear aside and you do your thing, Patrick Ewing. Or
that's why
David
Markkanen,
Robinson.
people suggesting Markkanen, that's why that's so attractive, because that's what he represents.
But I think missing on Wiseman, the fact that didn't work out really set this franchise back, because they are still playing the same style of ball that won them titles back in 15 and 16. And I think the league's moved on to a certain degree.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. One of the trade rumors I'm seeing here from a guy on Twitter, Rocky_M, says, what do you think of this one? Draymond, Wiggins, Moody, Joseph, first-round picks in 26 and 28 to Phoenix for Durant, Eric Gordon, and either Watanabe or Josh Okogie.
I mean, I'd do it.
They're not moving Okogie.
Phoenix has got to be drunk to pull the trigger on that.
Well, I'll say this, though. I mean, when a player makes $48 million like Durant does or whatever he makes, and he said, and he's not particularly happy, it's not necessarily an easy contract to move. I mean, it's not like there's a bunch of teams out there that are like, yeah, you know what? I'll take a 35-year-old guy making $48 million. I mean, it's so Draymond, Wiggins, Moody, Joseph, and 2 number ones, probably late, mid to late first-round picks. I probably would pull the trigger on that.